All right, everyone. So now we've got our multiple choice questions on audit risk. So first question is going to say a senior auditor conducted a dual purpose test on a client's invoice to determine whether the invoice was approved and to ascertain the amount and other terms of the invoice. Which of the following lists two tests that the auditor performed? Now, if you're thinking, what the heck did he just read off? You're not alone. No worries. That was a wordy question and two approaches. Yes, it does make sense, but that is at such a higher level than you likely would need to know for the exam. So let's deduce this how I would, as someone who is dealing with 4 exams at once and doesn't have time to get on the level that this question's asking. Now, first, let's look at the answers, right? And we're doing a dual purpose test on an invoice. So we're an auditor. It says you're an auditor. So we know we're doing an audit. Generally speaking, what types of tests do we do as an auditor? Now, you could say, yeah, we do analytical procedures, substantive, test of details, test of controls. You could say we do all of these, right? You 100% can. And just a reminder that test of details are the same thing as substantive procedures. So make sure you're taking note of that. Those are the same things. So also, I would definitely, unless you think the right answer is only test of details or substantive procedures, then I would choose letter D, but this means the same thing. Test of details and substantive procedures are the same exact thing. So that's why I'm going to eliminate that. All right. Now, other than that, our choices are analytical procedures and substantive analytical procedures and test of controls. So again, this is getting me a little suspicious, I would say. Like, I'm just going to come out and say it. Generally speaking, for audits, we do test of controls and test of details. We've beaten that to death. Analytical procedures are generally done in the beginning planning stage of an audit, right? We're getting used to everything. We're kind of trying to get thresholds, and then maybe a quality review at the end. So if we're doing testing of invoices, we're dealing with actual, like, in the audit, during testing phase, we are going to do test of controls and test of details. Those are my thoughts, right? I'm trying to just talk it through with you using my experience, using what I've seen in so many multiple choice questions throughout the entire exam. So I hope that makes sense, right? So again, letter D is just the same thing, so we're not going to choose that. Analytical procedures, I think really the best answer here is going to be test of controls and test of details. But let's kind of take a look at it even further. If we were to do it at this higher level, I called it, that I don't think is too necessary, but hey, why not? So dual purpose test, which means there's two tests, which all these answers have two, to determine whether the invoice was approved. So if the invoice was approved, that's testing controls, because if it was approved, that means our controls are operating properly. So if it was approved, that was testing our internal controls, because approval of documents is an internal control. And then to ascertain the amount and other terms of the invoice, this is testing like the specifics of it, of this one item. So that would be a test of detail, also known as substantive testing. Beat that one to death a little bit, but I think it was rightly so, and welcome. I hope it was in your mind. Awesome, great question, and even better explanation by a wonderful instructor. All right, I'm not going to toot my own horn too much. Let's move on. All right, here we are. Next up, inherent risk and control risk differ from detection risk in which of the following ways? We know we have our 3 risk types that belong in our audit risk formula, and we've got that. We've beaten that to death. This is good practice. So they differ from detection risk in which of the following ways? Before even reading the explanations, so which one do you only really have control of as the auditor? I would say, remember, detection risk, right? Like, the only one you really have control of is detection. Inherent risk, there's no way to change it, right? If you're in an incredibly risky industry with possibly a lot of fraud, it's very complex client, complex transactions, then high inherent risk, or maybe it's very boring companies, so low inherent risk. That's just going to be there. Control risk, the more testing of controls you do, the more you uncover it, right? It's not like you're changing it. You're just uncovering the actual amount. So regardless of how much test of controls you do, the control risk level is there. You're just getting a more accurate percentage or accurate assessment of that control risk. And I hope I made that clear throughout the lesson. That's something I didn't even understand when I was taking the test. Glad I understand it now so I could make it clear for you. So detection risk you can actually really affect, because the more tests of details, the more substantive tests you do, the less detection risk. So if we take a look here, right, we're looking through inherent and control exist as a result of auditor's judgment. No. So inherent risk is independent of the auditor, has no impact on materiality. So immediately, I mean, that was my reason for Xing it out. I mean, even control risk too, but inherent risk, I just see that and I say, no, not going to work here, not going to fly. Then we see inherent risk and control risk exist independently of the audit. Yeah. I would very much say they exist independently. Again, to recap, you inherent risk is just there, right? But you are trying to uncover control risk. You're not trying to reduce it. How do you reduce overall audit risk? You reduce it by doing more substantive procedures, which reduce detection risk. So I think that's a solid answer, but let's keep reading. Inherent risk and control risk are calculated by the client. Nope. Client does not do that. That's your job. You're getting hired to do something. You might as well do some work, right? That is on the part of the auditor. So controlled by the auditor, no. Not controlled by the auditor. So crossing those off. Let's take a look at our little reference, right? I always like to bring in a nice reference when I can from the lessons. And yeah, take a good read, right? They exist independently. This is what I kind of just talked about, but if you want to pause the video and just read through again, instead of listening to my droning voice, please take a second, read through it. Very good content here, very good practice. So here we are. Final answer is letter B. Next up here, which of the following types of risks most likely would increase if AR are confirmed 3 months before year end? Interesting question, and this is why we're here, right? This is why we're here to test things out. This is why we're here to talk it through, because this one actually requires a little bit more thought than some other ones. The prior questions we could kind of just memorize, right? Just kind of understand. But here, this is a little more application. So I've got a little explanation for you. For the purposes of the exam, and I do love saying that because this is very different in real life. So substantive testing, also known as, say it with me, test of details, that reduces detection risk, which is the risk of missing something in an audit. So that can be completed before the end of the year. If you've seen the interim review lesson already, we know that you can do testing before the year is even up. So why do you do that? In the real world, and for the purpose of the test, you're just doing it to save time. Because guess what? It does hit crunch time. That's why we do have what we love to refer to as a busy season, right? So you try to do testing before the busy season hits, and you can kind of get a jump start on it. But if you test something earlier on and not closer to the end date, well, then there's a risk that because you tested it early on, something else could happen later. And as such, oh no, problems occur. So in reality, audits will sample and test for the whole year, but the exam assumes that sometimes interim testing can be completed before year end and can constitute all necessary testing. So in reality, if you do interim testing, you're still going to test end of the year. The interim testing just bolsters your whole audit. But for the purpose of the test, and again, maybe this is how it works in very, very small audits. I'm not going to claim to be an expert. I have worked in clients of varying sizes. But yeah, for the purposes of the exam, it might say, oh, you can test up until 9:30 and sign off for the financials up until 12:31, which for a lot of people might sound strange because you've only worked in big four massive clients. But that is how a small company with maybe $3 million revenue a year who needs a bank loan, that might happen there. So as such, if AR was not tested the last 3 months of the year, detection risk would increase as there's a higher likelihood that something could be missed, because if you confirm them 3 months before year end, and this question is also a little misleading. It would be nice to give a little more detail, but hey, some questions I write, some questions are the AICPA questions, but it's essentially saying like if you confirm them, that's it. That's all the only testing you're going to do. So if you confirm them, that's it. And if anything happens that is incorrect in the last 3 months of the year, you're not going to detect that, and yeah, you're going to have a higher risk there. So Good explanation, good question, good thought process. Moving along now. Which of the following should an auditor do when control risk is assessed at the maximum level? All right. Control risk is assessed at the maximum level. Uh-oh. Fire alarm going off. Ding, ding, ding. We've got some problems, a lot of issues. So what are we going to do here? So remember, control risk is something that exists, like, whether it's 40% or level 3, however you quantify it, it exists. You're just trying to uncover it. You're not trying to control it. You're not trying to reduce it. You're not trying to do anything with that. So what should you do when you assess it? Well, do you perform more tests of controls? No, like it's already at the maximum level, so you're not going to do more tests of controls. You can't really uncover more. And doing more tests of controls is not going to really help you. Do you perform fewer substantive tests of details? Actually, no, not at all, right? You want to perform more tests of details because we think of our formula. If control risk is at its highest, in order to bring down the overall audit risk, you're going to need to do more tests of details, which reduces detection risk. So I'm going to cross off letter C, and you know me, I just like jumping around, so I didn't skip letter A just because that was the right answer. I just wanted to go to letter B. Document the control structure more extensively, or document the assessment. So two seemingly similar answers, right? Do you document the internal control system, or do you document the assessment? So I am going to go with documenting the assessment. The control structure should be pretty well documented. I mean, this is me just kind of going on a tangent, but I will pull up information from the lesson. You want to document the specific assessment that you made when you determine control risk is at the maximum level, right? It's essentially saying if you're claiming that, oh no, we've got a significant problem, you want to document that rather than the boy who cried wolf. You want to say, okay, everything's on fire. Well, you want to document that, hey, everything's on fire. That way, if anyone ever comes to say, like, hey, like, was it really that bad? Well, you can say, actually, yes, it was that bad. So now referencing what we've got here from the lesson. So essentially, yeah, when control risk is assessed at the maximum level, it should be the assessment should be documented. That was just something to memorize, but also what I just told you is for sure a nice little explanation of it. That would be our final answer right here. We're going to document the assessment. So hope you enjoyed. I'm sure you did, right? We're always enjoying, always having a good time. So go relax or don't relax, keep studying, whatever it is, you know yourself best, right? Go have a coffee if you want to keep going, or maybe you've been studying for 12 hours straight, in which case go get some tacos and margs and relax. But hope you all the best. Keep working hard, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hey there! Are you ready to not only pass your CPA exams, but truly understand and enjoy the material while studying? I know it seems impossible, right? Especially to enjoy the material? We'll do it together. Tap into the power of CPA.examprep.ai, where we've got personalized quizzes, multiple choice questions, memorization guides, flashcards, simulations, all tailored to your learning. Our adaptive study planning puts you on the fastest path to success and lifts you back up if you fall behind. Avoid wasting your precious time and money attempting an exam with a low chance of passing, because who wants that? We want to get you through this process as quick as possible. Our exam readiness prediction lets you walk in with confidence, knowing that you're prepared for success on exam day. Thankfully, there's no payment method needed to get started, so why don't you come join us? Visit cpa.examprep.ai and let's achieve your exam success together.